Hi, Steve Riley. Welcome to this episode of Great Practice, Great Life. And I am here with my favorite marketing guru, who I've been gushing about in the intro, author of Killing Marketing, author of Experiences, the Seventh Era of Marketing, author of Managing Content Marketing, a well sought after speaker and content marketing, just straight up marketing guru, a great guy, fantastic podcast. So Robert, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you very much. You're very sweet to to promote all those things. So I felt like a theme building in some of that. So
there might be a theme here on today's podcast. Is a theme, and in your
there's a
honor,
theme to my life, I think. Yeah,
it's a theme to your life. And so, for those of you that have never been introduced to Robert, you can check out his personal website, which is robertrose.net. And, check him out. He's a keynote speaker. He's a consultant. And his business card has the greatest title of all time. Robert, explain your title.
Well, it's my title is Chief Troublemaker of my little business. And I came to that. Honestly, it was a marketing boss that I had early in my career. And he taught me very early on that if we're not having fun, we're not learning, and we're not successful. And so marketing always has to be not taken with such a serious tone. And so that's the idea is that I want to make sure that we're not taking ourselves so seriously that we don't understand that what we're really doing is shaping opinion and shaping and hoping to create culture in some cases and really just deal with content that is inspiring and entertaining and in some ways wonderful to audiences. So it's just, we're not curing cancer here, right? So let's just take a step back and sort of say, you know what, it's just not that serious.
So I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about and I know you've talked about 1,000 times, and you've got podcasts, you've got YouTube interviews, you have spoken all over the world on this. But in fact, why don't you talk about your podcast real quick so people can find more resources about you, and let's get that up front. And then I'm going to ask you some questions that you probably answered 1,000 times, but for our audience, I'd like them to hear your distinguishment of what content marketing is, if that's okay.
Sure. So, absolutely. Well, thank you for mentioning the podcast. The podcast is called This Old Marketing. And we are now 10 years into it. My pal Joe Polizzi and I started it in 2013, and it was really, I don't know if you remember the old PBS show This Old House.
Yep, I do.
That was the original. Really, the idea behind the podcast was two chuckleheads talking about what is an age-old practice but made new in the world of digital and content and how we deliver value to consumers. And so it was the other thing that it was based on was and I'm forgetting the name of it off the top of my head, but there's a great ESPN sports show that does you see what's coming up sort of thing, and they spend 5 minutes talking about each topic and going through. And all we wanted to do was have basically a chat show where Joe and I would cover the news, but really it was just about our take on the news, our hot take on the news. So that's what it's become. So 10 years later, it is us really talking about what's going on in the world of media, in marketing, content, and how businesses are dealing with it, and really hopefully providing some levity and a little bit of snarkiness and a little bit of fun and a little bit of interesting and some occasionally a good takeaway. Well, that's very kind of you. That was a show that I did it was my own. It was a solo podcast that I did right leading up to 2019. I think it was 2017 through. I think I ended it at the end of 2019, just in time for 2020. But the idea behind it was I wanted to do something on a weekly basis that took a classic concept of marketing, some classic, because I'm, as you mentioned in the beginning, I'm a student at heart and have really enjoyed whatever success I've had in my career by standing on the shoulders of my heroes in marketing, that I've learned so much from. And so I wanted to bring some of those classic, and I find, by the way, that this is something that has gone lost on a lot of modern businesses, is that they've lost a lot of the classic sense of marketing in lieu of sort of, marketing hacks or growth hacking or those, kinds of things that we see so often today. And the classics will always bring us through. And I wanted to tie some of those classic ideas to some of the more modern techniques. And so it was, how can I pull in every week something new that's going on in marketing, some new technique, some new opportunity, whether it's SEO, whether it's looking at social media, whether it's looking at the idea of native advertising or branded content or content marketing or email marketing or any of those sort of modern digital approaches, and sort of tie them back to a classic approach. And then usually I would bring in someone, an expert, to talk a little bit about it each week. And it was, I loved doing the show. It wasn't a question of whether I enjoyed doing it or not. It was very time consuming. But what I learned in that, and this is something that I work with clients all the time on, is that just because something is something you enjoy, and is something that you look at, if it doesn't find an audience and it isn't productive to your end objective, then that's when you got to be willing to let it go. And
Perfect.
it just never found its audience. It just never found its audience, no matter how and where we promoted it, changing up the format a little bit. We changed up the cadence of it. We we tried a lot of different things to make it work. And it honestly just never found a wide audience. And it was, once I started to, this is something that I've been saying a lot of late, which is, there's that classic saying, do what you love and the money will follow. And I absolutely believe that that is just not quite correct. What I think is
BS.
they have to love what you do in order for the money to follow.
Yep.
And so they just didn't love it. And so I said, you know what, I can do something else. I have other ideas. I can do other things. And so ending that show became the smart thing to do.
What is content marketing and why is it so important?
Yeah. So it itself is also very simple, right? So basically, if we go back to what we just talked about when we defined marketing, and we said, look, marketing is really simple. It's about reaching audiences and hopefully changing a behavior that works in our favor. And that broad statement, changing a behavior that works in our favor, could be everything from call me and talk to me about your problem, to sign up for this newsletter, to buy something now, to, whatever it is we want them to do ultimately. And so you start to think about that and you say, okay, great. How am I going to A, get somebody's attention, and B, change a behavior that works in my favor? And increasingly, in order to compete or differentiate in the vast sea of sameness, we have to go beyond simply putting up a 1-800 number or putting up some sort of call to action to say, call me today, or subscribe to this newsletter, or really, tell me about your problem and I'm the best one to solve it for you. And so getting beyond the classic formats of advertising and marketing, and instead delivering audiences something of value. In other words, you become a trusted source of interesting things. That might be something educational. It might be something inspiring. It might be something entertaining. It might be something that helps illuminate some truth that you believe in. Whatever it is, the idea is that you're developing content on a consistent basis that ultimately helps somebody do something better, or helps inspire someone to do something better, that is directly related to a behavior that aligns in your favor. That's content marketing in a nutshell. In other words, how do I deliver you an educational class on how to do something? Or how do I engage you in a digital magazine that educates you or entertains you or inspires you to do something a little different or better? And hopefully that content is something that interests you so that you're interested in creating it. And two, it also drives a behavior that works in your favor, because if they trust you, if they are educated by you, if they are inspired by you with this content, well, then you are top of mind because you come pre-trusted. You are differentiated in their mind because you've already delivered value to them. And if you can already deliver value to them when they do have a problem, when they do have an issue, it won't be the bus bench. It won't be the Yellow Pages ad. It won't be the social media post. It'll be this content that makes them say, hey, let's phone them because they've already delivered value to us.